church has been a center of music and worship in the St. Petersburg area for 100 years. And we hope for another 100 years. And hopefully this organ will be around for at least 50. So I won't be here, but you'll have to tell me about it when you get to heaven, whether it made it 50 years. With good maintenance, a pipe organ can last many more years than 100, but usually the console is one of the first things to wear out, as did ours. It was about 28 years old. It was nearing the end of its life, and we were having multiple problems often, and Pastor Bob said to me, perhaps we need to look for a new organ. And when the senior pastor of the church says words like that, you don't wait a week. You start working the next day until he hopefully doesn't change his mind. So you see the result. So I'm waiting for my slides and my program to catch up with each other. So I had some selecting to do. I had previous experience with Allen and Rogers organs, and they were my choice to go to until I was able to see the one at Hurricane, West Virginia, the Walker organ there, which is huge. You'll see me playing it a little bit later. So just to give you a quick background of organs, the pipe organ dates back to the 3rd century BC, and in the 6th and 7th century AD, they were able to add bellows, which would allow you to sustain a note or to play more than one note. And so that was a big addition. So we should have a slide what a pipe organ might look like. Many of them were hung on the wall, as you see there. Naturally, they were very expensive, and of course we had pipe organs in this country. Next, reed organs were invented, and reed organs were even available in parlors in people's homes, and those were a pump organ like the one you see there. If it was in a church, normally they would have a blower, and they could have 2 manuals and pedals, and it used reeds. And depending on how many sets of reeds would be how many ranks equivalent it would be to a pipe organ. Prior to 1930s, that was pretty much what churches were limited to if they wanted an organ. They had to have a pipe organ or a reed organ. In 1934, Lawrence Hammond invented the first Hammond organ. And you see him in the picture there. And that revolutionized the organ industry because it not only allowed churches that were poorer, but also homes could have an organ, and nightclubs, and Ethel Smith and Jesse Crawford utilized those Hammond's organs and made them famous. What you're seeing in that picture is the the interior of the Hammond organ, and those little metal wheels spin. Unfortunately, the Hammond only include flute sounds at 9 different pitches, so you were very limited in the sounds that you could have. In 1937, Jerome Markowitz invented the first Allen organ using a stable oscillator And that's what you're seeing in that picture. Each one of those oscillators was one pitch of the scale, and it was tunable. And then they would take the sound, the sine wave coming from that oscillator, and they could filter out different sounds, and that's how you got the different types of flute, string, reed, and diapason, all from an oscillator. So naturally, the more ranks of oscillators you had in your organ, the better the sound. In 1958, Rogers organ was founded by Rogers Jenkins and Fred Tinker, and you see pictured the first organ they built, Opus 1, Model 38, and that was really a big deal for the church world to be able to have an electronic instrument in the church that was not pipe. In 1962, Rogers built the first all-transistor organ. 1966, the famous Virgil Fox played a 5-manual electronic organ named the Black Beauty Touring Organ. Guess what color it was? In 1969, Allen Organ Company began developing the first all-digital pipe organ. What you see pictured there is the first digital organ that Allen made in 1971, and they merged their technology with North American Rockwell and came up with that almost space-looking console. I have played one of those. For its day, it was a wonderful organ. Remember, that's 1971. Also in the 70s, the Rogers Organ Company, the two companies, Rogers and Allen, were neck and neck trying to outdo the other. And Rogers began building hybrid organs, which is the merge of a pipe organ and an electronic organ. In 1973, Walker Technical Services was founded by Bob Walker as an electronic organs service company. In 1986, Walker Technical Company began developing digital voices and adding them to existing pipe organs. Often, a church would have a pipe organ that was adequate for the church, but they could not afford additional 16-foot stops or 32-foot stops, and so the Walker Company would fill that in and finish out the organ and complete it. Walker built two of the largest hybrid organs ever constructed, a 5-manual, 522 draw knob organ at the U.S. Naval Academy, and a 6-manual, 456 draw knob organ at Forest Burdette United Methodist Church in Hurricane, West Virginia. I was visiting family in West Virginia and found online that digital organ in West Virginia was this enormous organ, and I thought, I just got to go see that. So I did, and you're going to hear me playing it shortly. The picture you're seeing right now is my previous church, Riviera United Methodist Church. It is a Concord Rogers 760, and it was the first time I had the privilege of playing a hybrid or combination pipe and electronic. So I knew it was something that could be done and could be done well. So when we got the new organ here, prior to this one, it was also a hybrid organ. However, it was an Allen organ. So in 2018, I made a trip to West Virginia to the Burdett United Methodist Church and played their organ. So being able to play that organ, I felt like a little kid in a candy store or a toy store. The kind organist choirmaster there at that church opened his church up to me. I had 2 hours at that organ to make my registrations, to practice the piece, and then to have it recorded. So it went pretty quickly. It would have been nice to have had a week. Hopefully I can go back. But it was that playing that organ that inspired me to want this for my church, because I had never heard or played anything that compared to that organ ever. It just surrounded me with sound, and you saw all the draw knob choices that I had, and you're going to see quite a few when I open this one up. So Rogers, Allen, and Walker technology have continued to evolve, and as I said, I had a selection between the 3 companies. There are other electronic organ manufacturers, but I had no experience with them, so I did not include them in my search. When I talked to the 3 different companies, I said I would like a 4-manual console, and I want 100 ranks of strings. And of course, most people look at you like you're crazy. Well, that would be the Wanamaker organ or the Atlantic City organ. But we have almost 100 ranks of strings on this organ. So I'm not crazy. You just have to ask, and you might get it. Right, Jeremy? The late, great Virgil Fox once said, "No organ can have too many strings." And I agree. I think 100 ranks is a good number. The first number you heard me play was including perhaps 50 or 70 ranks of strings on that organ, and the second time that I played the same piece, it was all, I think that organ has maybe 125 ranks of strings. And then the second piece that I played was showing off the trumpet, the tuba, the trumpet ensemble, and most of those were Walker digital sounds that you were hearing. That organ at that church has, I think, 35 or 40 ranks of pipes, but the majority of it is digital. So if you could show the picture number 9. So I contacted the Allen Organ Company, and they recommended a 4-manual console, and that console would have a draw knob for each rank of pipes. The console you see there is their stock model, and it has 4 different types of tone: American Classic, English Cathedral, French Baroque, and Neo-Baroque stop lists. And it has 250, that's the Allen, 250 voices internally through Genesis Voice, which is similar to their idea of MIDI. The total number of ranks of strings on that organ was approximately 40. That is the Rogers organ, the 4-manual, and Rogers' design was to merge our pipe organ with their electronic draw knobs, and they have electronic sounds: American Eclectic, English Cathedral, French Romantic, and German Baroque. Those sound libraries, the 4 of them, are included within the organ console. Similar to the Allen, both have 4 suites of sounds that you can switch between. A total count of the strings that were on that Rogers without changing any of them was 14, plus 250 internal voices that I had that I could make available if I wanted. They also gave me the option of changing stops. For example, if there was a principal 8 and I wanted it to be a diapason 8, I could change it to that. Robert Todd has some experience with doing that with the organ at Holy Family. And then we come to the Walker Technical Organ Company, and they offered me a custom console with my specification, all pipe ranks on an individual draw knob. So every pipe rank would speak according to what I wanted and what the organ had currently. My spec included over 90 ranks of strings. So there are a total, Jeremy, of 160 digital Walker ranks in this organ, 160, added to the 54 pipe ranks. Plus it has 14 percussion voices and a total of 262 draw knobs on both sides of me. And I'm going to have to grow longer arms because either that or I'm going to have to hire 2 little people on each side, one on each side, to draw knobs. And Robert reminded me that's what combination actions are for. I also have 6,000 additional voices in a sound module, a Roland Integra. So I compared the 3 companies and what they were offering and selected the Walker. And I think you're going to be pleased when you see it. You're unfortunately not going to be able to hear it tonight, but I invite you back to our inaugural concert with Samuel Metzger, the 1st of November at 7 o'clock, right here. So when you decide what organ you want, it doesn't just miraculously appear in the room. Unfortunately, we had to dispose of the previous organ, which a church in Kentucky paid for it to be moved there, and it arrived, and they are actually installed it today. We gave it to the church because it had had so many problems. We did not feel like we could charge a church anything. So it was our gift. So the other organ left the building, and the new organ came into the building with a little bit of pushing and pulling. And we have a video to show that. So you're seeing parts of the organ being removed from the console before it was brought into the building to help lighten the load, but it didn't lighten it much because the thing still weighed, I think, 500 pounds. You don't see me in the picture moving. So it was a wonderful day, and it's here. So without any further ado, the big reveal our new Walker organ. So I invite everyone to come up and get a closer look. Prior to that, we'd like to get a group photo of everyone around the organ so that we can put it in our AGO magazine that goes all over the country, and so that people all over the country will know of our new organ. I'd like to recognize 3 special people. It's really amazing when you get to meet the people that actually built this instrument. So I was talking to one young man, and he said, I'm the one that installed every one of those 262 draw knobs. Imagine. And the 2 gentlemen that I'm going to introduce to you in a minute rewired our pipe organ because the previous wiring was not a good job, and it was a jumbled mess, the best way to put it. And they straightened it out and made it look neat and accessible. Ron and Dave, would you stand? And the designer of this console is Jeremy Rush. So Jeremy and I would get on the telephone, and I'd say, Jeremy, I need 6 more draw knobs. And he'd say, there's not room. I can't find another hole. And I'd say, yes, you can. And, well, let me look. And he would come back and he'd say, I think I found a place for them. And I said, you know, if you take this off and put it down and put it as a thumb piston, you'll have another spot. So back and forth, many texts and phone calls, and you see this. And it was such a pleasure working with this Walker team. I can't say enough about their organization. It is top. And the product that they make and install, they say 50 years, and I believe it. Everything is just perfection. So thank you, guys. So come up and take a look and get in the picture. And there's a table and a pew over here with free music. Free. Take it. 200 books maybe, and I would love for you to take at least 100 of them with you. And thank you for coming tonight.